Welcome to the No Kidding Podcast.
I'm Lisa. I am the brunette half of this podcast.
And I'm Andrew, the blonde half of this podcast.
That would be so weird if you're a blonde. I was actually considering changing my hair color. Oddly enough. I've never done that.
Just for this intro?
Yeah, just to have like a point of conversation at the very beginning of this podcast every time.
At the very beginning of this audio-only podcast.
Drastic lifestyle change just for this. But I've never dyed my hair ever. And I've never done anything to it, actually. But I was following somebody who was a brunette who could, well, actually, she's got like straight black hair, like dark hair, like Lervin's hair, very dark. And she went from that to being like a light redhead, like overnight. And It was very shocking, but it looked really good. And I was, so then I was saying, oh my gosh, like, well, here's the thing, because when you have dark hair and you're brunette, you're always told that you can't really change your hair color without major surgery, basically. Like, you have to bleach it, you have to do all this damage to it.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, and then it takes like upkeep, like crazy upkeep, where you have to go back once a month, and like way too high maintenance for me. I'm so low maintenance.
Because the dark roots.
Yeah,
they're so obvious.
So now I think like it's evolved to the point where they've rectified this, because everybody wants to get like a change or whatever, and it's
science prevails.
Yeah, so they've I think part of it is they leave the roots your natural hair color somehow, but they blend it out to where it looks naturally another color. Anyway, and then I also follow another girl.
Ombre?
Kind of, yeah, but not obviously, like not super obvious.
Okay.
I don't know, so it doesn't look like it's meant to be like changing colors and stuff. Anyway, and I follow this other girl who was very brunette. Well, more like my brunette, where it's very kind of a mix between it's kind of a light brunette. There's some, anyway, and she went blonde.
Light dark.
Yeah, like a lighter dark. And she went blonde, and it, same thing. Like, they kept her roots darker, but they kind of faded it into blonde, but it was very naturally looking. And that looked really nice too. But I'm too worried about doing this because I just, like I said, I'm very low maintenance, and I don't necessarily want to damage my hair at all. And here's another big issue. I don't know if I have some medical condition or if I'm just getting old, but I am losing hair at a drastic amount. I mean, a drastic rate. Like, I feel like I am going bald almost.
Are you going bald?
I could be.
Are you going to look like George Costanza?
Terrifying. I mean, oh God, I hope not. That's terrifying. That's terrifying to think of. But I mean, if it happens, I'll just have to live with it. So. Anyway, but
wow.
I don't know what to do. Like, I have a doctor's appointment because I'm like, something's either seriously wrong with my vitamins.
Yeah, I was thinking like maybe a vitamin deficiency or something. Because I do have a stomach condition, which is kind of like autoimmune, where I mean, technically it is considered an autoimmune. So my intestines sometimes will get so inflamed that they do not absorb nutrients correctly, and so I do get deficiencies, but it's hard to know when that's happening unless I'm tested regularly. And I have been having a lot of stomach problems coming up again, so I'm thinking maybe that's what's happening. Maybe I'm just like deficient and I need, so anyways, I'm gonna try to get my blood tested and see, because I'm getting a little bit worried. My hair used to be so thick, like super thick, to the point where I couldn't wear curls in my hair because they would fall out within 5 minutes, and I could barely wrap my whole hand around my hair, like the ponytail or something, because it was so thick. Now I could wrap not only my hand around it, but I could roll it up really small, and they're still not completely grab all my. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just becoming more compact. Maybe it's advancing a technology.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe.
For your convenience.
Maybe.
You're evolving, Lisa.
Maybe I'm evolving. Maybe that's the problem. I'm too
technologically advanced as an AI.
You're a superior being.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. I'm superior.
It's a wrong way to look at it, but it's a good way.
Oh, my chair just scared me because, I mean, I think it was my chair. I hope it was my chair. Okay, let's talk ghost stories. I mean, it's getting close to...
Spooky.
Okay, so what just happened was I was leaning in my chair, but my chair's locked, so it's not reclining. But I just moved a little bit, and the whole back of my chair, like, pushed forward, like somebody had pushed me. You know, like somebody walks behind your chair and pushes it? That kind of feeling.
Woo.
I know, but it wasn't. My chair just had, like, a little bit of a give. But it reminded me of this.
Or maybe it's a ghost.
It could, I don't know, maybe. I'm turning my light on real quick because I'm sitting in the dark right now.
Click.
But, okay.
It's too autumn out right now.
Too autumn out? Not here in Florida. I don't think so.
That's the spookiest time.
True.
As soon as the leaves turn orange, which in Florida
I wish that it would. It does turn. That's not true. There are leaves that change color here.
That's true.
That is a myth that it doesn't happen in Florida, because it does. It just happens to, like, less than 1% of trees. That's all. So it's less noticeable, but it does happen.
Every now and then you spot one.
Yeah. Certain trees that we have here, because in my neighborhood there are, I think people purposely planted like those kinds of trees here, because we have trees that have yellow fallen leaves and red leaves that are falling. So
the north is slowly invading Florida.
I know. I'm so happy. I just love that.
Well, I mean, what is a palm tree? That's not even a tree. Get over yourself.
It's true. And palm trees.
It has like 2 leaves.
Palm trees die and they turn brown. They're not pretty, like, yellow and red, but
like their big palm fronds just like land in your yard, and you're like, this is like a branch.
And it's actually quite painful if you ever step on one, because that stem. Yeah, that stem if you step on that. Ouch.
It's like a saw.
It is. You could probably use it as a saw in a pinch. We've been watching some, like, clips of Survivor Man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting. I mean, we used to watch it a long time, like when it was out and stuff, but I haven't seen it in a long time. And it's a good refresher of survival skills. I mean, Les Stroud, he's...
Oh, yeah? So if, like, I stranded you out in the middle of the woods, you'd be good?
I don't know if I'd be good, but I think that I'd be better than I would be if I hadn't watched it. My problem is retention, so I'm going to be sitting there thinking, like, oh my gosh, what would he do? And I'm not going to remember, and it's going to be the worst feeling in the world. Knowing that I knew it at some point in my life, but now I don't know it, and I need it, that's the worst. That's
Lisa, it's cold, it's dark. You just woke up in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting dark. It's like dusk. Yeah. What are you going to do?
Oh, it's getting dark?
Yeah.
Well, if it's getting dark and I don't have shelter, that's my first immediate thing. Actually, the very first thing that you have to do is make sure you're dry. So if you woke up and you're wet, you have to come stripped to be completely naked and dry out your clothes. Find some shelter.
How are you going to dry out your clothes, though?
Well, you have to find shelter and put it under there. So if it's raining or whatever.
But you don't have shelter, like you said.
Well, true, but you put it under some, I don't know. Fine, build shelter first. But you're really not supposed to, like, move around when you're wet, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, but I guess whatever. Let's build a shelter first. We're wet. It's fine. Then you take your clothes off and you hang them up to dry. And you can try to build a fire, but sometimes that can be hard.
It takes a long time to build a fire unless you got some kind of accoutrements.
So you don't necessarily need a fire the first night unless it's, like, really cold. It depends on where we are. I mean, are we in the Arctic? Or, I mean, I don't know. But, yeah, so that's pretty much it. And then you just sleep. And then you wake up the next morning and you do all the other things that you gotta do.
Okay. Well, everybody out there, you now know how to survive in the woods.
Here's the thing. The most important things that he always teaches: stay dry. You have to find, a direction to head. So if you hear running water, go towards that. If you hear, any kind of, like, repetitive noises. What else? Always, you want to try.
I'm going to catch it.
Catch what?
The running water.
We don't catch it. You just move towards it.
Oh, okay.
But see, this is what I don't remember. If you go, I mean, I'm pretty sure you go downstream. You just follow it down so that eventually you end up at some body of water, and then you're more likely to be near civilization. But I can't 100% say that it's true. So I think that's true, though. I don't remember if you go upstream or downstream, but I would think you would go downstream because you don't want to go upstream because that's like you're usually climbing a mountain and you don't want to be higher. You want to be lower, I would think, right? That just makes logical sense. I don't know if that's true.
Of course. You always want to be lower.
Yeah. And then you want to try...
But then they always say that you have the advantage when you're up higher.
Oh, so you could see more? Or like if you have cell reception and stuff?
I don't know.
And then you also want to build something for like getting water. Like rainwater or precipitation water or...
Or like a crystal flute, if you will.
Kind of, but it's called like a stelm, or there's like where you
perhaps craft yourself a coffee mug.
Kind of, but not. Well, yeah. Basically, you get like something to hold plants and stuff, and then you put plastic on top of it, and you make it so that there's like a lower part and a higher part, and then the water from the plants drains into the lower part, and that part you can drink. I forget what it's called. It's called like a stelm or something like that.
That sounds delicious.
It's not good, but I mean...
Have you ever played The Raft?
Is it a game?
Mm-hmm.
No.
You wake up on a floating piece of wood in the middle of a bunch of wreckage, floating in the middle of the ocean. And you have to survive, and you have to build up. You like have a hook, and you throw it out into the water to like grab debris and stuff and reel it in.
Yeah.
And then you can like use that to craft different things, build up your raft, make it bigger and bigger, and build different things like those water vapor catcher things, and purify water, and make fishing rods and cook fish and all sorts of stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, that's smart. That's actually the last one that we watched was when he was stranded on the ocean in a raft. That was pretty terrifying. And he even admitted that was the worst one that he's ever done.
What do you do?
You mean what did he do?
Because normally I assume he expects some earth to be providing for him.
Exactly. Like it's kind of his wheelhouse is knowing that. So it was challenging. He had a couple of things, like obviously because he's a survival guy, he knows to just in case something happens, you got to have a survival kit. So he had the survival kit, which helped. And he also had a raft, obviously. So when his boat went down, he had a raft. He had 2 rafts actually, but technically one was for his camera equipment, and so that he could document it and whatever. And then the other raft was for him to survive. However, the raft that was for him to survive was crap. So he switched back and forth between the two. Like he would jump, like crawl into the other one. He slept in the dinghy basically for his camera equipment. He slept in that. And then during the day, he was in his actual raft because his actual raft had shelter. So number 1 tip, you need shelter if you're going to be stuck on the ocean, obviously.
Nah, just get a nice tan.
I mean, you could die, but you do you.
I could die just walking outside in the sun.
You could, yeah, in like 30 years or something.
That melanoma really sneaks up on you.
Sure. So, yeah, so cover up. Oh, another thing, stay dry. So like when so his boat's going down, he popped his string to basically he basically said you're going to die if you get stranded and your boat goes down. You're probably going to die because goodbye. Here's the thing: when he went to pop open his survival raft, he couldn't do it hardly by himself because it took a lot of strength. He said if you were already in the water and you weren't on a higher surface like the boat as it's going down, you basically won't have the strength to pop it open. And so now you're just hanging on to this floating box, which you could do, but probably not for the length of time that he was out there. He was out there for a week.
I mean, just put your feet on it and push, right? while holding the cable?
I guess, but I don't know. He seemed to think it was really, really hard, especially if you didn't have much strength. It depends, I guess, on the person, but I'm thinking I wouldn't be able to do it. I was just being selfish and thinking about myself and thinking,
of course,
my upper body strength is, as we've said before, I'm sure, just non-existent. So anyway, so he did that, and then when it opened upside down. So all of his survival stuff that was in it got wet, and so some of it didn't work. Like his flashlight didn't work, and a couple other things were ruined. But
wait, so it was like compressed in a box full of his survival gear?
It came with a kit. Like the kit was the raft, and inside the raft, I guess, like stuffed inside was all of these things to survive if you were left in the water. Like if you had to survive on this raft.
And it wasn't like secured to the raft itself in any way?
Exactly. And he's like, and it wasn't in waterproof packaging or anything. So it was like, yeah.
That sounds like you just got to buy a better raft.
Yeah. Well,
they got to put that company on blast.
Right. And then also it got an air leak and a water leak. So he had to deal with that the whole time. But it did come with a pump. So basically like every couple hours he had to pump it, with air to keep it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was kind of a pain.
Was this like $30 off Amazon?
I don't know. The first one that he got was a dud, but they do have expiration dates on them, and the one that he originally got, I think he got it on eBay or somewhere, it was like 6 months past its expiration date, so they tested it before they took it, and it turned out to be a dud, so they got this one, which also turned out to be a dud. So, well, I mean, it survived, okay, so it's not like it was a total loss, but he was just constantly having to...
Sounds like it survived through sheer will.
Yeah, exactly. It was just one extra thing he had to deal with, but he had to constantly shovel water out of the raft and then pump it up with it, and it was a hand pump, so, he's gonna pump it with his hand, which, I guess it gives you something to do while you're out there.
He's sitting there pumping it in the hot sun, and he's like, well, at least I have something to do.
Right. So, but he didn't have any food, and he didn't have any water. So...
What do you mean?
What?
He's surrounded in water. That's the whole problem.
No, he didn't have any drinking water. You can't drink the ocean. Survival tip number one.
That's a matter of conviction.
No, you can. Like, you would die if you drink with salt water.
So it sounds like you can.
Well, that's true if you really want to end it quickly. I mean... It just dehydrates you even more. So it doesn't do what you want it to do. It doesn't, hydrate you.
I like salt.
Well, sure. I mean, people like salt, but that doesn't really mean... I'm sure there's some nutritional value, but it's really just not good for you. So, luckily, though...
Seawater soup?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah?
Yeah.
Sounds good?
Yeah. At that point, probably if you're starving, you're probably like...
It's probably a little umami, all right?
Okay, yeah. It's new age. Maybe you could bring it back and say, look, guys, this is how you can survive, is if you just have salty sea soup and water, of course, because you need the water to survive. That's like...
Well, you put in a little bit of like nori, some like seaweed wrap in there or something. Mm-hmm. I don't know, a little sriracha. It's probably pretty good.
Okay, well, now we're adding some actual nutrients, so I could see, people striving on that, maybe. I don't know. But anyways.
Eating like kings.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude.
What?
So, you confirmed he bought that thing from Amazon, right? So, he...
well, I don't know if he did or not, but I assume so.
Have you seen the new Amazon store?
Actually, I don't think they had Amazon then.
How long ago was this?
I'll find out. Because this was like back before they had cell phones.
Wow. You're really back in the archives, huh?
Well, that's when he did his show, because he was, what is it called? Lost at Sea. Survivor Man Lost at Sea.
Because that's when people cared about going outside?
Yeah. And he's like, well, I mean, all these people are out doing active, adventurous stuff, not sitting inside on their computers, so they need to know how to survive if they get lost. It was in 2005. So they had cell phones, obviously. I was joking about that, really, but it's because he recorded on actual, like, camcorders and stuff. It wasn't like he had a GoPro or anything. It was like he actually had to carry
real cameras around.
That wasn't. That was around the time like Lost was coming out, right? Perfect timing.
Yeah, that is kind of perfect timing. Very true.
It was very in vogue. So, have you tried the new Amazon store? Is what I'm getting at.
What do you mean
It's my roundabout way of a segue.
The new Amazon store. What do you
the
mean?
New Amazon store.
What does that mean? Is there a new one? Like online?
No.
Where?
New online store? That's so old school. This is a store in reality. Can you believe that?
Reality?
It's like actually, yeah, it's like a store that you can actually go to, and they have these things. They're like planks of wood that are along the wall, and they set the items on them, and you could just see them in the real world.
What? This is blowing my mind. Oh.
Have I lost you?
No. Is this at Mall at Millennia?
It is.
I've just Googled it. That's the only reason I know.
Oh, well, that's cheating.
I did not know that this was a thing. Have you been?
I just went.
Oh, really? What's it like? Looks like a Barnes & Noble.
Well, apparently it's a lot like, I guess it's pretty much the front page of Amazon, I would say, I guess. Because it's all like their 4-star and above items.
Okay.
So it's basically all stuff that gets pretty good reviews, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, being facetious about the futuristicness of it. It's another mall store, but I don't know. It's like, what was that old technology store that they always used to have in malls? It was like FYE or something. For Your Entertainment, I think that's what it was called.
Oh, that's
you remember those?
vaguely.
It was like a mini Best Buy or like a cooler Radio Shack.
Oh, like a sharper image.
Kind of, but a little more like, I don't know. Like you could go there to like get Walkmans or like CD players or something. But okay. I really haven't been in one since those were a thing. So they've held on. I don't know. Do they still exist? But anyways, it's kind of like...
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking about. But I thought that was mostly music.
It's kind of like a new age, like... Yeah, I guess it's closer to like sharper image, though. I was saying no to FYE, but as far as like the Amazon store goes, yeah, I would say it's pretty close to a sharper image, I guess. But it's like, at sharper image, I'm always kind of like in between on the value of what I'm getting.
Oh yeah.
Whereas like a lot of the stuff in the Amazon store, they're actually stuff that I like have seen and been like, oh, that's a cheap version of like whatever, like cheap backpack or something. And like when the last time I was looking up like bags, I was like, oh, that, like I saw a selection of them and I'm like, I wonder, like you're trying to visualize how these would actually look in the real world and stuff.
Oh, so it's
and then like some of them are in there and I'm like, oh, there's the bag. I remember seeing this. And yeah, it's actually like a big bag.
Oh, that's kind of smart marketing. But it does say that it's called Amazon 4-star. That's the name of the store.
Yeah.
So it's 4 stars and above, top seller, and new and trending items on Amazon.com. So is a lot of it Amazon products? Like, are they?
They have a lot of Amazon basics there, which actually is kind of funny because they have a unique problem where they have really like good products and stuff, the Amazon Basics line. However, they've completely designed their packaging to be super minimal and like it's basically already in a shipping box, right? Like if you've ever gotten an Amazon Basics thing, it's like a cardboard box with a little sticker on it that's just like Amazon Basics, like whatever, like HDMI cable.
Right.
Or whatever. Like there's no like, it's nothing interesting to see in a store. Okay. So like you go and there's like there'll be like a couple like nice items, like the what are those like rubberized mats they use for cooking, like the slip mats or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then there will be like a couple of nice ones and like flashy packaging, and then there's just like a like brown box
like
one that's just like
doesn't have the wow factor.
Yeah, it feels weird. It's like, oh, this is like somebody brought this out from the stock room or something.
Right. Huh.
They need like a show box or something.
They do. So why is everything in packaging, or do they have any items sitting out saying like
it's kind of a mixture. So you can I guess some of the most interesting areas are like the I was talking about the bags, but also the like kitchenware area and the technology area. It's just kind of like, they'll have a stand mixer out there, or they'll have like a cutting board or something. And then you can actually like pick up like the big bowls or what have you. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Maybe I'll check it out soon.
It's kind of
been on
funny
that
though.
Area of
like
town though. It's so far away.
Yeah. You never think like something like that would be useful though in this new online shopping era. But to be honest, I find myself in the mall from time to time. And whenever I'm in there, I'm like, man, I could always just find this stuff on Amazon.
Yeah.
But then I'm in Amazon. Like I can literally walk to Amazon.
I wonder if there's like a price markup or if it's actually cheaper to buy it in the store or if it's just the same price.
That's a good question. I should have looked it up. I think like for the bag, I think I remember the price. I think it's all the same. You think there'd be a price mark down because they don't have to ship it to you.
Right. But I mean, like for Amazon Prime members who get free shipping anyway.
Yeah, I saw a thing. I didn't buy anything there. I was just it's interesting concept. But I think there was like a member's price essentially. Like so if you have your Amazon Prime membership, you can get a discount.
Cool. Even better.
Yeah. Right now I can shop at Whole Foods and the Amazon store.
Speaking of Amazon, today is Amazon Day.
The rainforest or the store?
I'm sorry, not Amazon Day, Prime Day. Prime Day deals. So like today? I don't know if it goes longer, but it's always called Prime Day. I guess it's only a day. I don't know, but
I'm surprised Amazon isn't blasting my ear off about it.
Basically, like if you have Prime, they have like a ton of sales today. So, but they're only on certain items. They're not like everything is on sale. It's like, there's like deals, special deals. Yeah. But I feel like they have that all the time. So I don't really know what's the day. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like they have amazing deals on like their own stuff, like the basics and the like they have some crazy good deals on like I remember that's the first time I got like an Echo it was just so cheap. Like one of the days it was like $40 or something and that's back when this was like they were pretty new and I was like, well, why not?
Yeah.
Like it's so cheap. And also I remember I bought like Amazon Fire tablet, which I was like, why would I ever get a tablet specialized for e-reading? But honestly, I enjoy it's a pretty good product because I feel like it's one of the few tablets that feel like really light. Like they really went for like the ultralight effect with it, which I feel like is exactly what you want in an e-reader because almost always when you're using that, you're like laying in bed or something and your arms get tired from like holding the book. Like it's honestly lighter than a book though, like some books that I've held.
That's nice.
So yeah, it's really nice.
I've always wanted to get an e-reader, and I've been looking at Kindle because Kindle has some, but is it like a Kindle?
Yeah, Kindle Fire. That's what I have.
Oh, okay. And you like it. Yeah. Because I have Kindle on my phone, which is how I read a lot of books. But
oh, yeah, if you're in that service, especially if you have like Audible or the like Kindle Unlimited,
like,
it integrates with all that.
And so I was like, but I don't know if it's that big of a difference between just reading it on my phone or reading it on a Kindle. But everybody keeps saying, no, you need to get the Kindle Fire tablet because it's like way better. But I don't really understand why. Like what would be the difference between me reading it on my phone, other than it being a little bit bigger, obviously, and probably a lot lighter. But
well, I mean, on your phone, obviously, phones are pretty light. But it would probably be about the same weight as like your tiny phone, but as a big screen. And then, I mean, obviously it's meant for that. So it has like lots of options like the dark reader mode where like if it's nighttime, it'll put that like orange filter over it to keep the blue light out. Right. Or like you can also have like full on dark mode if you're into that. And then obviously, just the bigger screen and easy access to a whole library of books. Like as soon as you turn on the screen, it shows you everything you're reading and whatnot.
True. Speaking of reading, I've been reading a lot lately, I'd say.
Oh, wow. Taking use of your pandemic time?
I guess so, but not really. Just coincidentally, I've just been reading more. And have you been reading? I don't really consider you, not that I don't consider you a reader, but I never really knew you as to be a reader, but you read apparently. You have a Kindle, so.
Oh, well, I don't actually know how to read, but I set it up in front of myself and I pretend. It impresses my fiance. So
that's awesome. Well, more power to you.
I just go, wow, plot twist. Huh.
She buys it. She's like, oh, look at him. He's really coming along with his reading skills.
His literacy is really advanced.
Well, I just mean we've never talked about books before. We've never recommended each other. I mean, you've never recommended any books. So
I can't imagine we have a huge cross-section, but let's go for it.
That's true. We probably just like different kind of books. But anyway, I've been reading, the books that I've really liked are well, for self-help books, The Compound Effect. I know this is a really old book, and a lot of people have already read it probably. It's very popular, I guess, among like business and self-help and all that. But I just read it for the first time, and I highly recommend it. It's very good.
What was it?
It's called...
What's the name?
Compound Effect.
Compound Effect.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Compound Effect. And I can't remember who wrote it, but I probably should shout out whoever did. But I even recommended it for children to listen to. Well, like children, like maybe 6 and over, like 6 and older, like maybe between like 6 and, well, older. I mean, adults are whatever. So all the way. Mainly because it's pretty simple, like concepts. Most kids could at least understand the general concept, but more specifically for kids who have like behavioral problems and things, because it really helps lay out why it's bad to have bad habits and bad behaviors and bad and it kind of helps show you,
listen, you're bad, and this is why
you're horrible and you need to change. So I buy you this book, and it's but they have it on Audible, so that's what I meant, like having a kid listen to it versus reading it, obviously, because I don't think the reading level is there. But I don't know. I just felt like it had a lot of really good points that sometimes parents have a hard time articulating in a way that makes sense because kids really need, or at least maybe not just kids, but people like me who need to understand why in order to comply, if that makes sense. Like I have to have a logical,
that was me in math.
Logical reason to conform, basically. You in math, what does that mean?
I feel like a lot of the way math is taught in public schools, at least when I was there, is just very much like, so learn this function. And it's like, but why? And it's like, well, because then you can, next year we can teach you this other function. It's like, but why? Where does this lead? Where am I going to... And they're like, trust us. I'm like, trust you with what? Like, where is this going to end up? And I feel like I never really...
Just trust me.
I don't know, got the answer to a lot of that. Like, my favorite maths are ones that are very, like, directly applicable to the real world, like geometry, chemistry, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I was good at those because it was like, oh, okay, this has a direct effect upon the world, or like a direct effect in understanding the world.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's like, I don't know,
like the laws.
Algebra and calculus and stuff. It's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
If I'm like doing a physics model, I guess.
Right. I can see that. Yeah. I mean, I had a weird time with math in the sense that obviously I was better. Usually you're better at one or the other. I was better at algebra than geometry, but obviously geometry is more practical for the world versus algebra. So that was a shame for me, but whatever. So
whoopsies.
The Compound Effect author was Darren Hardy, so shout out to him. And then the second self-help kind of book, it's more of like a positivity and everything. It's called Think Like a Monk, and that's by Jay Shetty, and that just recently came out, so like it's pretty popular right now. A lot of people are reading it because it's the new thing to read, because I don't know.
Oh, it's hip?
I just realized because I was reading it and I was recommending it to people, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm reading that too. And then it just blew up. This
is like when you watch something on Netflix and everyone's like, everybody's watching it.
I know. I was like, oh, okay. Sorry. Didn't know. But yeah. And I really also, again, I feel like kids could also benefit from this book too, because it's very...
So you read children's books. Interesting.
No. I just think because I'm like... oh, this, like, it's really helping me out to be a better person. But a lot of times I have, like, when I say parents, I mean me too, because like as a teacher and therapist for kids, like I have a hard time sometimes articulating the reasons behind why we're asking things of them. And so it helps me find the words and the vocabulary to explain, like, this is why we need to be good people, be kind, not only to other people, but to ourselves. And, so it's...
all right, kid, this is what a society is. And you better buck up and fall in line.
That's right. Yeah, but it's a very good book. It's a very good, like, way to look at the world, I guess. It's called Think Like a Monk. And there's a lot of
interesting perspectives in there. So
how should I conform according to Don previous book, the compression thing?
The compound effect?
Compound effect.
Yes, that is Darren Hardy.
Why should I conform?
Okay, well, he's not necessarily saying to conform, but he's saying like your habits, even the smallest little habits that you have throughout the day, even like in a moment, they compound over time. So it like you could take something so basic like losing weight, for example, but like if you change, say, one small thing, like you stop drinking soda, or one small thing like you have mustard on your sandwich instead of mayonnaise, you're not going to see any change for probably like a couple years. But in reality, there is change. It's just happening at a slow rate. But after like 5 years, you're going to look back and say, wow, I've made a huge change. Like there's been a big change. But sometimes you don't recognize it because it's such a slow development, but it's still important because it leads to positive differences or negative differences. If, like, let's say you do something bad, like you eat, French fries with every meal instead of something else, and then, you might not see a big change short term, but long term, it's going to decrease your health and, your lifestyle.
So it'll pay off in a couple years. Sounds like the kind of payout a kid could get behind.
Yeah, right. But that's just like the micro change. But like obviously it also relates to big change. So if you make bigger changes more often, then you're going to see progress shorter term. But like as a kid, you have to develop habits and things that will set you up for success, for the goals that you want. So you also have to find why you want things, what kind of world you want to live in, what's your ultimate goal, and then from there make changes in your life to basically help your future self. So it can even be from like now to an hour from now. So like let's say in an hour from now you want to play video games. So right now you have to make changes in order to
wrap up this podcast. All right, see you later, guys.
Yeah. So yeah, make little changes to help your future self. Anyways, it's really powerful. It's a good book. I recommend it.
So how does Thinking Like a Monk tie into this?
Oh, well, that's just a separate book, but Think Like a Monk is like, oh gosh, there's just so many good gems in that book. It talks about obviously like mindfulness and being intentional and just being a good person overall, but very meaningful ways, I guess. But also basically there's two forms of thought. There's the monkey brain and the monk brain. And the monkey brain wants things now. They want instant gratification. They want basically. And the monk mind,
pure hedonism.
Exactly. It's like crazy town. So, and then obviously the monk mind is just more controlled and realizes that everything that they should do out of purpose and like gratitude and meaning. So like even if it's like this moment right now where we're talking on this podcast, we can sit here and say, I'm super grateful to be here talking on this podcast with my brother because nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. And at this moment, I've been given a gift, and this gift, and it basically turns your life it romanticizes your life into a way that you could never be down necessarily. Well, you can, obviously, we're human, but it helps you to sort of like make the best out of everything in your life. So even when
the lowest point you'll ever hit in your life is still pretty good.
Yeah, basically. And he does address like areas of where that could be a struggle. Like if you've experienced a loss or some major trauma or things like that, and how to set your mind up for success in those times too. So, yeah. So I don't know. It's just, he gives a lot of good tips and tricks for just appreciating life a little bit more. So yeah, those are two. And then I also read two sort of like, I wouldn't say haunting books. I mean, they were more like mystery, intrigue, like books. Because I was trying to lead up
Are they like those kitschy Murder in the Midnight Train?
No.
Kind of, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe, but just not quite so, what's the word I'm looking for? Like daytime soap opera.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if I would recommend those necessarily.
So those are your guilty pleasures, if you will.
Well, I like mysteries. Like, I like to try to say, like, you know, oh, I wonder what really happened, who did this, like, that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of games I like too, because I like to have some kind of like puzzle to figure out, or you know, mystery. I like playing Sherlock. And we played Among Us. That's been really popular lately.
Oh my God, you're in the zeitgeist?
I am. I've played it a couple times now, and gotta say, it's...
Oh my God, you're like a more, you're memeier than me lately. Look at this.
Following the trends, baby.
You gotta say what? What do you think?
I like it.
What do you think of Among Us?
I like it. Here's the only problem I have.
You like being a conniving little traitor?
I never got to be the imposter.
What?
I know. I never got picked. It's random, but I never got picked.
The game's like, you're too sweet and get out of here.
So. Everybody was so nice to me when we played, because we had like 10 people or more. Well, I guess it was capped at 10, so we always had about 10 people. And yeah, like whenever there was an imposter, I think only one time, and we played a lot of times, only one time did somebody say, well, Lisa was kind of running around and it didn't look like she had anything to do.
It's like, I'm so sorry, but she was there, and oh God, I'm so sorry, but you're the murderer.
I know, but then they did. They were like, but this other person looked kind of suspicious too, so I don't know. And I definitely wasn't the imposter, because I never was, but
never am.
Obviously I'm just like so good. I'm just never.
That's when you try and build up that reputation.
Exactly.
Like, I'm just the person who's never the imposter.
Maybe this is a good thing. This is like a good tactic to just stay under the radar. That's been my whole life, basically. That it just like explains me to a T. I'm so under the radar that nobody really notices me, so everybody underestimates me, and I could just do whatever I want. So anyways, that's
freedom.
Yeah, freedom. That's
freedom by obscurity.
That's my life, but in a nutshell. But it was fun. It was kind of the only thing is it's pretty repetitive, so we played a lot of games, and by a certain point I was like, okay guys, I'm ready to go. I was playing with...
I'm done fixing comms. I think I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah, especially because I was always a crewmate or whatever, and I was just the same thing over and over. But I was playing with Twitch streamers, and so...
Wow, you're so cool.
No, but
you're like so
I just got invited, so... But because they needed extra people. But, like, because they're streamers, they're used to, like, marathon gaming. They, like, stream for like 4 or 5 hours at a time. And I can't do that. I can't do anything for more than an hour. An hour is a really long time for me to sit and do one thing for...
An hour is an instant in gaming.
Right, exactly. So for me...
2 hours minimum.
I was like... And we played for probably, like, 3 hours by the time I was like, guys, like, this is fun. But, I got to step off for a while because I just can't sit here anymore. But
I can't take it. Stuck in this spaceship with all you,
but it was fun.
All you liars.
Yeah, but it really was fun, and I was glad that I did it. And then they played again, I think the next weekend or something, and but they had a new group of people, so I was like, okay, well, if you need me, let me know, but I'll be on, like, a standby person. Yeah, so I think it's becoming
how dare you do that to yourself,
like, weekend thing now, though. But it actually was pretty fun, and I recommended it to some other people to play because it's like a good way to play with people who, if you're social distancing, I feel like it's like a very...
What do you mean? Why specifically this game, though?
Well, because it's kind of like a board game, and a lot of people don't like... I'm talking about like people who don't normally play video games or play online games. I feel like this would be a good introductory game to play because they if they like playing board games and regular games, like, they would like this game. I don't know. It just seems less of a video game and more of like a interactive board game. So
cool.
Yeah.
What is that other game that's in vogue right now? You'd probably know more than me.
Well, they have one that's out right now that everybody's playing, and it's a scary game. You're talking about Fall Guy. we talking about Fall Guy?
I was with you. It was Phantasma or something.
Yeah, that's it. Wait, I think
it's the one where you're like ghost hunter.
Yeah.
That game reminds me so much of another game where it was like this. I want to say it's like a really crap game, but it was just kind of like it had an interesting concept where you were like somebody who hunted Bigfoot.
Oh, really?
And it's just kind of funny because both of these just seem like shows that would be on like the Discovery Channel at like 3 a.m.
Oh, really?
And they're just so similar.
Oh. No, it's called Phantasm. Is that right? Phantasm?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's it. Phantasm. So there's that, and then there's...
Oh, Phantasmal?
No, it's Phantasm. Phantasm. Seems like.
I'll go with you.
Seems like. But, yeah, so there's that, and then there's Fall Guys that everybody's playing.
I know. There's like so many crazy games taking the leaderboards right now. I feel kind of bad for Fortnite. They were like kings for so long.
Yeah, well, it was about time they got dethroned.
Now how is Epic going to win their lawsuit?
I don't know. But I was really shocked by Fall Guys because everybody was talking about it for so long, and I don't know why, and maybe it's because it's so close to Fallout, like the game Fallout. It sounds the same. So in my mind, I was thinking it was like that, where it was like a dark kind of first-person shooter kind of game. Like I was just imagining it like that, and then I was watching a stream, and somebody was playing this game, and I was like, oh, they're so cute. Like, they're these little characters running around and trying to, like, survive and get through this thing. And I was like, what is this called? And they're like, it's Fall Guys. Like, hello. I'm like, what? This is like
Somebody's
Candy
like,
Crush.
Oh, my gosh. You don't know?
I know. I felt so dumb. But, yeah. So if anybody doesn't know, like me, like, I didn't know. It's basically, like, these little characters that look like Shopkins. If you know what Shopkins are, or like
what are Shopkins?
I feel like they look like Shopkins characters.
Where are they?
And then
look them up.
Or they could be like little Animal Crossing characters, or like little cute little bubbly animated characters. And
I could see them looking like Shopkins.
Yeah, right. It's like that and a cross between, what is it called? That show where you do little events and you try not to get kicked off. It's like a
Wipeout?
Yeah, Wipeout. I was trying to think of the name of it. But it's like that. It's like a little game. But then there's like a whole horde of you guys, and it's just played online with a bunch of different people, and then everybody's trying to rush through this obstacle basically and try to get to the end and not die. And by die I mean
not eat it, as they say.
Yeah, but die meaning like falling off of the balancing thing or getting knocked off. Yeah. So you're trying to make it all the way to the end, and then if you make it to the end, then you go to another level, and eventually you weed out a bunch of people, and then I guess there's 2 people left. I don't know. I never watched that far to see how far it actually goes.
Eventually, once there's not enough players, it just defaults to like, I guess you call it like the final game. And it's essentially an elimination game where only one person can win it. Oh,
okay. Well, I mean, it seems interesting, but for me, it was like, that's like so much anxiety. I'd just be going through like, the whole time, like worried.
It's part of the fun.
I guess so. So
get wildin'.
Yeah. But speaking of what are they called? Events, I guess.
People?
No, just
things?
Events. I found this girl on Instagram. Actually, I found her on TikTok, and then I followed her on Instagram because I'm on Instagram more. So, and anyway, she is an archer. So she does archery, and she's like super skilled at it, like really good. And it just made me want to get into archery. Because I was pretty good at it when I was younger, when I went to camp, and I hated every other thing that they taught us, but archery was so fun. So I'm just thinking, maybe I'm just wanting to relive
the
glory days, yeah. And part of the reason,
but it's so great when you see somebody who is like so good at something, like their craft, and you're like, oh,
I know,
I want to be that.
Exactly. And I don't necessarily want to be at her level because she's crazy good. But I just want to be able to hit a target and get a bullseye. I'd be okay with that. and then I'll move on to something else. This is my problem though. Like, I want to do so many things. I have this long list of things that I want to get decent at and just try. Like, I also want to play pickleball. I want to play tennis. I want to play this archery, or try this archery thing. And then I have tons of things in business I want to do. And I'm like, I just need to stop wanting to do things so that I actually do something and get good at it. That's my fatal flaw, is I just have way too many interests and things I want to do.
Yeah.
Like,
it's kind of helped me a little bit to get a little more structured in my note taking, oddly enough. Like, I've gotten a little more structure in the way I like categorize and like store information, and it's really helped with prioritizing and getting certain things out of my mind, because like I have the same sort of thing where I'll get this vortex of different things that I want to do, and like get ideas for other things, like they start to mix in, but then I'm like still trying to keep in my mind that other thing I wanted to do, until I have like 9 things in my head that I'm like, oh, that's a project I gotta do, like I'll start that tomorrow, and then it's like, but I have 9 things that I want to start tomorrow apparently.
Yes, it's overwhelming.
And then just kind of like writing it all down, and especially like when I find like materials and stuff that are like good ideas, and like articles about how I go about doing certain things a certain way or something, like I can put that all like structured in a note, and then feel like I can confidently like place that somewhere where I'll remember it, and it's all like neatly categorized and everything, so I can be like, okay, if I ever am sitting down to do this project, like I'll just open this note and I'll have like all that information available, and then it's like it feels like I give myself the okay to just kind of like flush that out of my head.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of nice, because eventually you just get to the point where you have a nice way of looking at the projects. Like, it's easy to flip through them and see the projects that have the most material and like the most, what would you say, like blanks filled in. Whereas like some of the other ones you look at might not have as much. And then you can easily like gauge which things on this list could be done the easiest and the quickest. And then obviously you kind of mix in a little bit of your, but what do I actually care about doing? And then you can pretty easily and nicely come to like, what am I going to do this weekend? And like realize the project that's right for right now.
Yeah, like prioritizing a little bit. And also consolidating everything and breaking it down into smaller steps, so that when you do actually want to execute it, you're kind of like, okay, now I have sort of a plan of how I want to do this, and not so it's not so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. And a history. If you fail, or you like end up not like liking a project, or you want to revisit it, you know what you did before, and you have all the steps and all the information you had originally, and then you can like make informed decisions about like what another direction you want to go, or like the next step.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have a specific notes program, or do you just use like Excel or something like that?
I honestly have just been using a development tool that I use for programming. It's just a text editor called VS Code. But it's it works a little bit like Google Chrome in the way that it has extensions. So you can add like different functionality to it. Like its primary purpose is just to open windows to type in, but there's all sorts of extensions. Most of them are geared towards programming, obviously, because it's a development tool. But I've just honestly been taking most of my notes in Markdown, which is a very simple way to store text that is formatted for human readability. So it's essentially like, imagine if you were taking your notes in Notepad, just raw text, and you wanted to just sprinkle in a little bit of the ability to like put something in bold or italics or make a header or something like that. Like just enough little bits of formatting to like make it more readable and not just like a block of text.
Okay.
And then that keeps it really
boring?
Agnostic, because you can access that data anywhere. Like anything can read raw text. So the whole kind of point, I guess, is to not have a program that I'm tied to. I know a lot of people that follow this kind of mentality use a new software that just came up called Obsidian, which is all about like using Markdown to keep your notes kind of like agnostic to the platform. But also I know a lot of people that use that type of note-taking system, like using kind of like a Zettelkasten system, if that means anything to anybody out there. But it's basically
for all of
just
you, wanting to take notes and you're not a complete nerd. Do you have anything for them?
Well, I was going to say the more like normal, I would say, like approachable things are Roam Research has an application that a lot of people use that it just kind of like puts it into much more neater user interface, and it's kind of designed for formalizing research and making researching things easier.
What's it called again?
So you kind of like link notes together, and what you'd think of as like you're kind of your own personal Wikipedia.
That's awesome. So, that's what I want. What is that one called? Say it again.
Roam Research.
Roam Research.
There's also another one. I forget what it's called. Notion. Notion is what it's called.
Notion. Okay.
Yeah, and it's similar. I know that Roam has a paid option. I don't know if that's only paid. I'm pretty sure Notion is free.
Okay. Well, I just looked up Obsidian because I have heard of that before. It says it's a second brain for you forever. So that's pretty intriguing.
They have a really neat option because, like, as I was saying, where it's kind of like building your own personal Wikipedia. They have a really cool option where the heart of the idea behind that crazy word that I used before called Zettelkasten is that you create links between all your notes. So you say, like, this note, like if you get to a point where you're like, okay, this pertains to something else, the same way there might be a link on a word in a Wikipedia page that would take you to another Wikipedia page, and you can like follow that rabbit hole all the way down. You can like link something and say this pertains to this other note, and it doesn't really have to be any more specific than that. It can just be like pointing at that other note. But it's a nice way to be like to almost create like categories and ideas and stuff that like branch out and link into other things. So you could be talking about something you did that day in like a journal, like a page that you created to be like, this is a journal for this day. And then you can be like, well, I was doing this and I was listening to this new playlist I really like, and then you can like link that to your music note or something, and then that can like link to a more specific music note or something. Like I was listening to like a retro pop station or something, and then like you can link specifically to like retro pop if you have that as a specific note, or if not, it can like link up to the like main music page or something. And if you're ever on the music page and you're like, oh man, I'm thinking of like what are some stations I've enjoyed in the past or something, and there's just that little link back to that other journal entry that you have that's like, oh, I was listening to this and really enjoying it.
That's really cool. Is there which one of those does that?
They all have like a little bit of that, but mainly what I was getting at was the Obsidian has this really cool feature where you can click on I think they call it the graph view, and it shows a web, like a literal, like it's like a 3D model almost. Well, I guess it's in 2D, but it's literally just like a bunch of nodes that represent each of your notes, and they're all connected by strings to each other, like some kind of like crazy insane person on a corkboard with Fred strings tying everything together.
That actually makes me very happy. I mean, to be able to...
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And you can like drag the nodes around and stuff and like reorder them to like kind of if you're trying to figure out how things connect to each other, and like if you like zoom in on the music section, you can like order them around, so you can be like, okay, let me see, this fractals out into looking at death metal, and then like, oh, I have a lot of nodes for death metal, and like what are all these nodes below death metal? Oh, there's all these awesome bands that I have notes about or something.
I wonder if that would be overwhelming, like to see,
like follow that down,
or if like it would get you onto all these tangents you don't really want to go down. Is it kind of like our podcast, but for...
Yeah, it's honestly like it starts to feel like you have that that game that people play on Wikipedia. It's like how many degrees to whatever else.
Yeah.
So the game is like you go to, for the uninitiated, you go to Wikipedia, a random Wikipedia page, and then you agree on some random other you and a friend, and then you agree on some other random topic that seems completely unrelated. Like you can be like, go to the Wikipedia page on oranges.
Yeah.
And then now get to the Wikipedia page on Kevin Bacon. And it's like you see how many clicks it takes without searching in the search bar, but just following the links within the page. How little clicks can you go before you get to Kevin Bacon?
Oh, okay.
Like you get to that Wikipedia page, because it's like it just shows you how everything in Wikipedia is like interconnected. Like there's always a path through, just like
that's true.
Following the
kind of the whole
links within an article.
World thing. It's like there's always some connection if you go far enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so it's just kind of nice because it's like, it becomes a Wikipedia that's like based around your pattern of thinking rather than just like raw information or like how the world has put together data. Or, obviously Wikipedia also can just get so vast and at times even not very specific to like information that you're interested in and like the research that you've done. So
yeah,
it's cool to like find like articles that you've looked up and you've connected with, and then you have the link right there to like that article. And then if you're following the Zettelkasten method, you're supposed to also record like your thoughts and almost like a in your own words summary of the idea, so that you can kind of like instantly, just by like grazing over a paragraph, like put your mind back in that mindset of like having read that and without even having to like reread a whole article about it.
Wow. I feel like I'm trying to decide. I feel like it would either be exactly what I need or it would be a complete disaster. I wonder because
one of the two.
Yeah, one of the two. My brain as a whole is very disorganized. It's very hard for me to navigate. And that I think that's why my recall is so horrible, because it's like there's tons of stuff in there, but it's very disorganized and I don't know where to go to find things. And so I feel like this could potentially help me a ton by like, if I just type everything down or write everything down, and then I could just search for it really quickly and say, yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of. That relates to this business idea or whatever. But then again, I'm also very distracted. So I think, oh, well, if I start going down there, then I'm going to end up over here and I'm going to end up over here. And then I'm going to lose track of my original process that I was trying to achieve.
Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it'll bring you to like a core idea that's maybe more important than what you originally searched for.
That I also might have forgotten that I ever did. But that was another thing I was going to say, is that I do take tons of notes on my notes app on my phone, and it does have a search feature, but there's so many times where I'm like, I know I wrote this down somewhere, but I don't remember where, and I don't know, like, basically exactly what you're saying is, like, if I'm able to search a certain thing, I'll be able to find it or find something related to it and then be able to find it eventually. Whereas in this way, I just have like tons and tons of like words, and I'm like, I don't know, like, it gets overwhelming because all I see is words. I'm like, I know there's something
like,
important.
What date did I write this down?
And I don't know when I wrote it, or maybe I just need to be more organized too. But
what do you use currently?
Just the notes app on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have three different notes. I have like reminders, which has subfolders and all of that. Then I have notes, which is just like there's no organization whatsoever. And then I have a notebook, which is more for like journaling and writing. But the notes is where I put all my ideas and my thoughts, and like if I want to remember something. And it's kind of organized. I mean, I have like section, like different pages for different topics, I guess. But I don't know. It's sometimes it can be hard to find something, especially if I don't really know if I can't remember the specific search terms, I guess.
Yeah. This is nice because it you can at least get close, or you can even like create things like tags and stuff that make it easily searchable.
Yeah.
But also, like, the programs I mentioned have really great search functionality as well. Even if there's like some minuscule phrase that seems to be the only thing that you can remember. Like if you're searching for a song or something and you're like, I don't know, I just know the opening words of lyrics. If you've ever written that down, I should probably be able to find it.
But I also like this because it's kind of like you said, like a brainstorm map where it's like a web of ideas and stuff. So if you open that up, you're more likely to be triggered to a direction. Whereas like if you just open up notes and say search, and it's like, okay, well, I don't really know where to begin. But if you see like a bunch of different potential search topics, you're like, oh yeah, that I could search through that or whatever.
And what's fun is this was actually originally designed before it was designed to be basically done with pen and paper. So you can like basically do this in a note card system where you kind of like a Dewey Decimal System, like keep everything like each of your note cards like in a referential order, and then you can theoretically like actually do it on paper and have them like reference each other's note cards and stuff, and like it points to like look at note card 8B or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a really cool system, and I would say before I kind of used I didn't really use notes that hardcore before, but I would say I'd use OneNote, which is a really cool application. It's got a lot going for it.
I tried OneNote.
Biggest downside in my opinion is just it's kind of almost seems confused in what it wants to be. It's like there's a lot of versions of it. Like there's a Windows 10 version, there's like a Windows Office version, there's like the app version, and they're all a little bit different, have different feature sets and weird stuff. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the annoying thing, but other than that, it has a ton of functionality. Like even just being able to like write anywhere on the page, like you don't necessarily have to like start typing at the top. Like you can just like start like writing, and I mean writing. Like you could take like a stylus if you have like a tablet or something and draw and like write in hand.
Yes.
Written.
I have tried
calligraphy
OneNote before, and I don't know why I didn't like it, but I did feel like it wasn't structured enough. I think for me, like I was like, I could really see myself being messy with this and it not being functional.
That was kind of one of the things I was gonna say. Like it was definitely a situation where I ended up finding myself like nesting things, and it honestly comes with a automatic amount of nesting. Like things are automatically from your inception. Like as soon as you load up OneNote, it's like, okay, you're in a notebook, and this is your workbook, and there's like pages in this workbook, and then like you could create folders and subfolders for those pages, and like it gets kind of wild. And something I really like about the Zettelkasten system and just this kind of like wiki style is that it's all flat. Like by its nature, you shouldn't really like put them into folders and subfolders as such. Really, they're linking together like makes them like linked ideas, and like presents their structure in that way rather than having them like nested away in some kind of like arbitrary like amount of folders deep. And it's just kind of like they should all really be on the same level. The only exceptions I really have to that is I do kind of separate out stuff for work, just so like it's not mixed in with my like regular stuff. And also I have two folders, one for persistent ideas and one for what I call fleeting ideas, which are like basically fleeting are I write down as I absorb information into fleeting, and then within like 24 hours you're supposed to take those fleeting ideas and like transform them into persistent ideas.
That's interesting.
You actually go back and look at like this kind of scratch pad more or less that you had, where you're like, okay, I'm just like reading a thing and I'm typing out like what I think just as I'm reading it. And or you're in like a meeting or something and you're taking notes, or you're just like walking down the street and you have a good idea and you want to write it down real quick. And those kind of things, like they build up in like I have them separated by day, but you really do it however you want. And then you're supposed to kind of go back and look at those and say, okay, now I'm going to kind of like take these and formalize them and get rid of ones that were like, oh, I didn't even need to write this down, I don't know why I did. Or like think about them in a way that's like, oh, this is how I really want to word this, like not how I originally worded it, and like then turn them into like a persistent part of like the main wiki,
like
if you
will. Kind of editing and organizing a little bit.
Yeah, and putting them into like a formalized idea, because that would really slow you down if like in the moment you had to think like, okay, where would this, what part of the note would this go to,
and it's just
like which notes would it link to, and like all that kind of stuff.
That's very helpful, I think, for me, definitely, but for others out there who have trouble organizing their thoughts a little bit into structure.
Yeah, it's really cool. I would say the hardest thing I found about this system is just being diligent about transferring your daily notes into like persistent notes.
Right. Otherwise it's
just like fleeting stuff.
Yeah. Just a madman's like note taking. And
well, honestly, a worst case scenario just kind of ends up being like how most people take notes, I think, where they just kind of like starts writing random stuff and to like a note here or there.
Yeah. I actually recently learned about another program that it's not for note taking, but it's for like mapping, basically. So like if you have an idea or a problem, or you're trying to, this is more for like, I think my investigative brain, that I was drawn to it, but kind of you're trying to solve a problem or you're trying to link something together, basically. But it basically maps it out in like kind of like a similar form like you have here with the web. but I know like a lot of lawyers use it for cases and stuff, like connecting the dots basically, or like a family tree kind of situation. I'm trying to remember what it was called so I could share that, but let me find.
Lucid chart? I'm just thinking of like mind mapping
like a
programs
flow chart.
that are popular.
Yeah, kind of like that, but Draw.io. So draw.io. Apparently it's free. Oh. It's free.
Yeah, I think I have used that for I think we used that for like some projects in UCF, like when I was a student. Like it's just a way to, we use it to like collaborate.
Yeah.
On, because there are certain things that you're supposed to create like flowcharts and stuff for in programming, and it just helps you kind of like draw it out easily.
Right. Yeah. I've never used it, but the way it was being described to me, it sounded very a good way to organize thoughts maybe. But if you're into flowcharts. So
if you're into flowcharts, if you're that kind of person.
If you're into that.
And you're calling me the nerd.
No, it's just the way that you were describing it. It's like the question was.
You're like, so what notes app do you use, Lisa?
Like, how do you write your notes? Like, on a piece of paper? Do you use an app? Actually, I go into the Zygocason and I do a VS Code and I, like, that's all. But it actually.
That's all.
But it actually does make sense, code. And it's very. I like it. I think it's awesome and very good way to, if you're somebody that has a lot of thoughts like you and me that can be disorganized and you're not.
We have a lot of thoughts, guys.
Yeah, like they're just constant, and then you never know.
If your thoughts per minute were on our level, you'd understand.
You get it. You get it. But if you're just like a normal thought person, a notepad would probably do fine for you.
Yeah, don't get down on yourself, but probably a plebeian option.
Don't get overwhelmed here. There's simpler options for
legitimately,
for simpler people. No, just kidding.
Don't be scared by my crazy German word. Zettelkasten is named after, I think it was an author, German author.
Sounds German.
It's an interesting system. There's lots of YouTube videos out there explaining it. I would say how to get started is kind of difficult, and but I think there's a lot of great videos out there of the overview and the idea of kind of what I've described here, but in better detail with pictures and making it a lot more obvious.
Maybe I should look into that, because I feel like completely wiping my entire note system and starting fresh and clean with something like this, because it's a problem. Because that's another thing is like when you have thoughts constantly and you write them down or whatever, they get lost and you like completely forget that you even wrote them because you don't go.
Then what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Because I used to write everything on paper, and it's such a good feeling to write something down, and it is actually very therapeutic. It's far more therapeutic. Like research has shown that actually physically writing something is better for you as far as memory and just therapeutically than doing it on electronics. However, it's just not practical, and it gets lost, and like. You leave it in a car, it falls out, it flies away. It's like...
There's actually a project I've been interested in doing for a while is, I even made up a markup for it and everything. But it was utilizing a app called Rocketbook, I think, or is Rocket Journal.
Oh, I've heard of that. I think.
Yeah, it's actually a product that you can buy that allows you to basically with your phone like scan the pages of this notebook that you buy, and it automatically like it has little like markers in the edge to show the camera like where to scan, and it's automatically able to like in pretty clear text and with OCR and everything automatically like scan the page and bring it into like a PDF into your computer. Like even if you have drawings and like freehand stuff in there, like it'll bring it into just like a little PDF for you.
Yeah, and I think they also allow you to edit it digitally too. Like you can do things with the words digitally. I think I've heard of this, and it is...
Yeah, I think you can. And one of the cool things is they actually have on their website they have blank templates, so you can actually download the PDFs of like the borders of the page. So basically, how it like the little tags it uses to like understand like, okay, this is a page I need to scan with the app. And then so you can, I actually drew up a thing where I made my own kind of template for it, and it has like some helpful information in the margins. It has I prefer like the little, I don't forget what it's called, but it's almost like graph paper. It has like the dots rather than the lines.
Bullet journaling.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like bullet journaling. And it has like that kind of style, and I kind of like did up my own format. And then I actually even bought some waterproof paper I was going to use and just like print it directly on there and like bind my own little book. That was like a little project.
Nice.
Oh, I should make it.
You should do
make
that.
a note about that.
And then you could take it with you like to the mountains, or while you're rafting, you could just write a little note.
Yeah, it's good to go. Yeah. And I think that Rocket Journal, I forget what it's called. They do use they have some really cool options as well.
I was actually considering
paper. They even have one that I think you can put the journal in the microwave and it erases everything on all the pages. Like essentially heat like erases everything on the pages, and then you basically have a blank notebook again. You can go through, and since everything's scanned into your phone, you don't need the journal anymore.
I have seen these. It's called Rocketbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
It is awesome. That's probably like a really good invention because it's merging the two things that people love. It's like basically solving the problem. I love writing on paper, but I want it digitally.
And you know what? I saw one of them in the Amazon store.
You did?
I did. It's bringing it all back around, full circle.
There you go. You should.
Thanks for listening, guys.
The end. We've gotten this far. There's nowhere else to go.
See you later.
Bye.
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 To be continued.
Man, that was a long one.
That was long. We got really into stuff, so it's okay.
I love you. Bye-bye.